Hello. Can you hear me? Because I've done something weird to my audio interface, like updating the software. It's not coming through on OBS at all. I can't hear anything through my monitor channels, but I can see the view meters moving up and down. So, yeah, we can hear, says Array of Emotions. Jolly good. Perhaps it's a bit quiet. Okay, let's turn myself up a bit. Yeah, Native Instruments have released version 5 of the driver for my Complete Audio 6 audio interface Mark II, which I've had for, I don't know, about 6 months. And it looks like software updates for it come out about every 6 months. But I started using it with the version 5 driver, and it's like everything's changed. It's not this. It's doing different things to my ears. It was quieter, so I've turned it up a bit. But as Array of Emotions has observed, maybe I need to turn it up a bit more. But I will play with it subsequent to tonight's show. I've got 2 new pieces of music for you. I've got another free software synthesizer that I've kind of mentioned before, but this time I'm actually using it in anger on one of the tracks that I've done. I have a whole bunch of software updates that dropped this week. So let's cover those first and get them out of the way. So, yeah, signed into Native Access on Tuesday and it said, new update to Contact. So that was half a gigabyte. So Contact is now at 6.5.1. They're mainly bug fixes. So if you've got Contact, it was doing weird things apparently in Cubase with the interface scaling and various other things. Following day, a 1.15 update, 1.15 gigabyte update to Absynth dropped on me. So that's now at version 5.3.4. Mainly fixing things like sample tags in Machine and Complete Control, which is what I use it on. And there was a big update to Spitfire Audio's Abbey Road 1, and there is going to be next week on Wednesday a big announcement about Abbey Road 1 and orchestral tools, orchestral scoring. So it looks like they're expanding the collection. It's like, that could be interesting. But the big news for nerds like me what use this thing and related hardware happened just this morning. Live 11 is coming out a week on Tuesday, and I am very, very excited because I've been waiting for this for quite a while. There are a number of interesting additions to it, which are not on that page. They're on the main page. The additions include our friends from Spitfire Audio, who have released a whole bunch of instrument packs. There they are. Upright piano, brass quartet and string quartet for Live 11. And considering I said that I would be writing a string quartet during February album writing month this month, seems like a bit of a sign from somewhere above going, you need to use this. So I will have 3 days to write a string quartet. Yeah, that's really going to happen, but at least I'll get it rough sketched out anyway. And Ryako Music has said in the chat, Ryako says, I'm going to be scoring a documentary. She got the gig, folks. So hooray, well done, Mel. You totally deserved it. Plus, she is going to be working on a remix EP for a friend of hers Plus, she's just been offered a screening of her score and the silent movie Fritz Lang's 1927 masterpiece, Metropolis, in Brussels in the fall for the cultural sector. How cool is that? Mel, I am so chuffed by this, and it is well deserved. Riako Music says, I celebrated with pizza, and so you should. Yeah, it is fantastic news. So, hello, one and all. Hello to Array of Emotions. Hello to Riako Music. Hello to Atitlan. Hello to I Am Your. And welcome. Grab a chair, sit down and chill for a bit. It's been a funny few days here. It's been brutally cold. But yeah, live's coming out. And Riako Music says, and you've been busy forming. Well, I have, actually. One of the things that I got up to this week, I hadn't actually planned on doing so, but I ended up dropping Chapman Stick onto a MIDI guitar-y synthy track by Nadine de Machado. So I think Dazed and Confused said, that's the first time I've heard you play Chapman Stick. So that I'm kind of taking as a hint that I ought to be playing more Chapman Stick this form. So I will be doing, but I have been busy. So here's me. I've now got 9 songs in my form profile, and I've just spent the last hour working on track 10. And track 10, it's really early days yet, so I'm not going to share it with you. But this slothcore thing. There was a forum thread, and people were making up music genres, and Candle, bless him, came up with the idea of slothcore, which is between 20 and 30 BPM, so it's really slow. There are frequent pauses and gaps to allow for naps, and he recommended it as ideal for the stressed student or executive in your life, and it's taken off. Let us see if I go to songs and type in slothcore, it should find the hashtags. There you go. There are 39 slothcore songs on the form website as of right now, which is not bad for a musical genre that did not exist 2 weeks ago, didn't exist 12 days ago. And everybody's just picking it up and running with it. And what's really fascinating is that even though everybody's got their own idea about how to do it, and everybody's doing something that is original and is not really governed by anybody else's activities, there are kind of patterns and common elements cropping up, which is absolutely mystifying to see and rather good fun. So what I've done today, I went into Ableton and I laid down a track with 3 or 4 synth lines and a guitar line and a superior drummer line, and rendered it out as a WAV file, and then opened up Audacity and threw a number of different time stretching algorithms at it. Riako Music says, I need to do a slothcore song. It sounds fascinating. Array of Emotion says, I think I'm going to have to check this out. Atitlan says, slothcore is an amazing phenomenon of this year's form. It is, right? And Neil says, running very slowly with it, because it's all about slowing it down. So the way I've approached it is that I did a track in Ableton, standard drum beats, guitar, plinky plinky on the keyboards, and a few various sequency type sounds. But when I'd rendered it out, I opened it up in Audacity, and Audacity has two completely different algorithms for slowing things down. The first one is one that's been in it for a while, which is called sliding stretch, which is quite powerful because it lets you change the beginning and end points of your slowdown and pitch correction separately. So you can have something slow down, or you can have something slow up, or you can have it consistently. And the other sliding algorithm in Audacity is pull stretch, which I've raved about here several times. You can also download it. Again, it's free. You can download it as a standalone sound mangling application, which is very, very often used for sound design in movies. But it's easier to use in Audacity, frankly. And I've been auditioning the results, and I have to say, I think that Audacity's previous algorithm, sliding stretch, just has the edge for me. So I'll play you an example, right? So this is the beginning of the bed track. So it's without all the embellishments. It is literally just a 2-minute piece of music. I'm not going to play it all. I took a 2-minute piece of music, which has intro, verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus, ending structure. I stretched it out so it's 4 times longer than it was. And this is the pull stretch version, right? So this is pull stretch of the bed track of what I'm going to be doing for my slothcore track. So, yeah, and Ryako nailed it. She said, it sounds windy. It does, doesn't it? There's some really odd phasing artifacts going on with the pull stretch version of it. I thought, I kind of don't like that because it overpowers the track. So you've heard that version, right? This is the sliding stretch version, and the parameters are exactly the same, but listen what a different job it made of it. Music says that sounds so much better, doesn't it? It's got a sort of really lovely metallic ring to it, and there's also those gorgeous deep drones which almost sound like a didgeridoo playing. So yeah, definitely going to go with that one. And so far I've added a little bit of piano on it because, yes, I'm back on the pianos. This time I've been using Native Instruments, the Maverick, which I think has become my favourite grand piano of the sample grand pianos that I've downloaded over the past year or so. even more so than Noir, which is a sampling of Niels Fram's Yamaha concert grand piano in a Berlin studio somewhere. So let's go over to Ableton, and I will share you one of the pieces of music what I have done this week. So this one, I kind of every now and again I think, oh, I'll do a sort of Dire Straitsy type song. Only this one sort of started Dire Straitsy and then sort of went a bit ZZ Top. And then I started chucking synthesizers at it, and it just got completely different. And this one is called Know Your Influences.
Groove to ska.
So that was Pick Your Influences, which is, was it track number 7 that I've done for February album writing month this year. So halfway, and we're not even halfway through the month yet. So I'm pretty much ahead of myself, but there again, I'm pretty much in here every day. So, you know, what else am I going to do? So I fell asleep during your stream yesterday, Riako Music. You weren't boring. I was just sleepy. Oh, bless. And hello, big old Dave Jude. Thank you for dropping in. This is rather nice. So yeah, bit ZZ Toppy, yes. Bit Dire Straitsy. So the main guitar that I tend to use is the Parker Fly that I've been talking about before on this show. But this week I have also been wielding my other favourite guitar. They're all favourite guitars. Asking me which one's my favourite guitar is like asking somebody who their favourite child is. And this is a G&L S500. So it's G&L is George and Leo. So it was George Fullerton, who was a mate of Leo Fender's and Leo Fender himself. And basically Leo sold Fender and said, right, I've retired. And yeah, that didn't stick. So eventually it got to the point, he said, I think I'll start another guitar company. And he did, and it's called G&L for George and Leo. And he set about redesigning the Fender Stratocaster because he wasn't happy with the design of the Fender Stratocaster. So he made a bunch of changes. So there's a completely different bridge on this. I don't know if you can see that. The tremolo system is completely different to a Strat. It's built like a tank. The electronics have got coil taps and all sorts in it. And it sounds gorgeous. So that solo at the end is... You know, I've got a Zoom G3 multi-effects unit down here up my feet. I've also, of course, got the Moore Ocean machine going. Will's Robin, good evening. So, yeah, I love this guitar as much as I love all my other guitars, but more so. I've certainly been playing it a lot. It's also very good for Dave Gilmour-y type tones, and you can get a fairly decent bend on it. And yeah, the tone's not bad. There's been a lot of guitar playing this week because... yeah, I'm all about the guitars. So let me talk you through what I did on here. So let's go back. The drums are, of course, because I've been using it all the time, Superior Drummer, and it's the Metal Foundry expansion pack, and it's Devin Townsend's Dev Kit. Once again, as you can see at the bottom, I've dropped drum bus onto the track, which really brings out the room, and it also brings out the transients because transient shaping. And as a result, you can see up in the corner, well, you can't see because I've got me in the way, so let's just get out of the way. I had to turn the drums down by 8 dB because that's how shouty drum bus makes them. So as always, I'm doing it again. So let's get rid of me. I annotate the track names in Ableton when I'm recording so that I can, if I listen to it after the fact and think, oh dear, that sounds terrible, I need to do that again, I can go back. So I know which guitar it is, I know which effects settings I've used, and yeah, because obsessive and a bit of a nerd. So that's kind of what I do. There are loads of synths on. Well, there's not loads of synths. Right. Okay, folks, here we go. The synth in the bridge. So let me play you the bridge. And then solo the synth. So this is a free synthesizer. This is this week's HFO pick of synthesizer goodness that you can pick up for nothing, because it's called the Sanford Cobalt. So if you go over to lesliesanford.com, you can download this. You can download a bloody excellent reverb unit, a really, really nice delay, and a spatial effect for tightening up your bottom end. Misses the bass tightener. But today we're all about the Cobalt, right? So Cobalt is a polysynth. It's totally free. You just go to lesliesanford.com and download it. And I couldn't get on with it the first time I tried playing with it. And the reason is that its interface is a little bit quirky, shall we say. So I was like, okay, well, where are the presets? How do I change preset names? I can't see anywhere of doing. And then I realized that the preset list is actually in the plugin window in the rack in Ableton, and there are dozens of really interesting presets in it. It has some fantastic, really, really good, fantastic lead lines. So if I change this, where was the one that I really liked? This one's called Cognitive Distortion. And yeah, you're thinking what I'm thinking, aren't you? It's really, really, really nice leads. There's a couple of classic lead as well. What was the other one? There's another one. Was it Cheery? Big old Dave dude saying, WTF, why is this free synth making me feel bad for all the money I spent on synths that sound the same? Ryako Music says, is this available for Mac 2? I think they're only available as VSTs. Hang on, let me just go to my downloads and see. And this is going to be embarrassing because I just have so many downloads on here. VSTs. I see, this is the work that I do for you guys. This is the amount of stuff that I download and install, and just to see if I can find anything in here that you will probably like. And if I do that, is Cobalt there? Can't even see the thing. But I've a feeling, Mel, it's only, or is it Sanford? I can't find it. I will research, but I've a feeling that it's only available as a VST. But can't you get, there's a package you can get. I'm pretty sure there's a package you can get for the Mac that lets you use VSTs. Yeah, which is a wrapper. Big old Dave Dude's there already. So let's try it. Live on Mac supports VST 2 and 3. See, if you upgrade from version 10 and later of Live, you can use VSTs on a Mac. Ha 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 ha. So yeah, Cobalt has lots and lots and lots of really nice sounds in it, and some very silly ones. So right down at the bottom, there's some wicked bass synth patches on it. Big old Dave Dude says, I've been very fond of Blue Cat's patchwork for VSTs in Mac. It can load entire plugin chains too, so you can set up entire plugin chain presets with it too. And big old Dave Dude, if you're after free VST synthesizers that do not sound like anything else, I hope you've managed to avail yourself of a copy of Pendulate, because that is mad. I've not got it on this track, but it is particularly good at absolutely insane bass patches. So yeah, other synths on this, Arturia V Collection, because Arturia V Collection, the Jupiter 8 is just lush. And so good that I used it alongside a Synclavier. And I was watching a YouTube video about the Synclavier yesterday, which is quite interesting because the demonstration LP that came with the New England Digital Synclavier basically had the opening 4 bars of Beat It on it that were written by one of Synclavier's performance artists, and it didn't get a credit for Beat It for it at all. And it's the same pattern of notes, it's the same patch, it's the same. Very, very odd. Big old Dave Dude says, I have not, but just downloaded it. Good man, you will have fun. So a bit of a sort of voice paddy type thing for the Synclavier on that, and then what's the other one in the middle? Oh, of course, getting me old Vangelis fix again. So it's a bit Mellotron-y, that one. So yeah, lots of synths layering. Ryako very kindly said, "Oh, harmonies in the chorus," and that was something that I've not done because I didn't know I could do it, but apparently I can sing harmonies now. So for instance, if I solo the
like you don't put music into boxes, just let it wash all over you.
It's all right, it's a bit rough and ready, and I'm never going to win awards as a vocalist, but I would like to point out that the pitch correction within Nectar Free is switched off. I don't use it. It does horrible things to my voice, maybe because the timbre of my voice is just so strange that the pitch correction just goes... But I was quite pleased with the result of that. Atitlan66 says, De Fresh Doggy says, the additive synth programming on the Synclavier gives insane possibilities. It is a super powerful synth. It cost more than my first house did. it was more expensive than the Fairlight when New England Digital released the Synclavier 2, which is what the Arturia emulation is. And if you've never heard Frank Zappa's album Jazz from Hell, which has some of his best work, he wrote the whole stuff, composed the whole album, performed the whole album with a Synclavier, because he didn't think that a band could possibly cope with the sort of music that he was getting out of his head at the time. It's pretty much my favourite Frank Zappa album. It is glorious. It's called Jazz from Hell, and it is totally Synclavier, and that it will show you just what the Synclavier was capable of doing. Big old Dave Do says, don't tell me this, I'm writing synthwave right now and I've already bought too many things. I'm all about the free things here. I'm retired, kind of, semi-retired. Do not have a job because of illness. I've been out of work now for nearly 2 years, and so I don't have a lot of money to drop on all the lovely new plugins and everything that come along. So I've made a point of finding as many free VST instruments as I can, and I found some bloody good ones, I have to say. Right, let's crack on because times are moving. So I'm going to switch to the other track that I've done in the last couple of days since Sunday's show. So I would remind you once again, go over to Nadine's profile on the February Album Writing Month site. So if I show you, it's fawm.org, and the .org is very, very important. So, or just find Headfirst Only at the form.org site. So it's form.org/formers/headfirst only. So form.org/formers, FAWMERS/headfirst only, which is me, and you can listen to all the stuff what I've done. And if you click on Fight For You version 2, you can go over to Nadine's profile, and she wrote the music and I dropped a Chapman Stick performance on it. So there you go. And I had great fun doing it because I don't play enough stick. As Cody said, I don't think I've heard you play that before. So I will remedy that fact, sir. Right, it's finished loading. So as you can see, there are even more synthesizers in this one. Cobalt makes several appearances in this track. So, for instance, in the bridge, we have Cobalt with a preset called Warble Chimes, which is kind of bit sort of twangy Fender Rhodes piano sort of thing. There is also a rather nice, well, it's the warm pad again. It's pretty much the default that I use in Cobalt now. Rather splendid, isn't it? Cody says, yep, love that bass, and thanks for helping Nadine sort out her MIDI issues. Yeah, I've no idea what it was. So basically, Nadine had got this lovely piano part that she recorded in MIDI, and when she played it in her DAW, a lot of the notes just choked. And there were a couple of things. She sent me the MIDI file, and I had a look at it on Ableton. I couldn't find anything wrong with it, but there were a few ghost notes, and I was wondering whether she was just getting keybed bounces or something else on her MIDI controller, but she seems to have sorted it out. Ryako Music says, I love a warm basic pad. You can use it in a lot of songs. This song is I think this is probably the closest I'm going to get to a sort of extended David Gilmour self-indulgent guitar solo performance. I kind of wanted to create a track that had lovely textures in it, but was sort of crying out for me to get the S500 out and just wail away over the top of it, which is why about the last third of the track is just me having a grand old time just playing and rocking out on the G&L S500. But I'll play you the track. This track is called So Much Winning, and yes, it's the obligatory Brexit song, and the first 3 lines of the song are quotes from Mr. Davis, Mr. Gove and Mr. Redwood, who back before the complete shit show burst on us were extolling the virtues of their talents and how easy it would be to get a better deal and basically screw the EU over for everything. And what a surprise. It didn't happen. And now Kent's a toilet. Hurrah. Sunlit uplands, eh? This is called So Much Winning.
There will be no downside. We hold all the cards. Getting out will be quick and easy. Turns out it's really hard. The sunlit uplands have receded, and things will never be the same. An angry mob in every seaport. Fish is rotting on the quay. The east of Kent's become a toilet.
So that's called So Much Winning, which is my 9th track for... Yeah, thank you, Ableton. That was not required. I really had fun with that. I was saying in the chat that I just washed it. I wanted the sort of the layers to just wash over you, and then have the guitar surfing over the top, and that kind of what they did. So what I will say, because I have had contact with our Canadian friend Fuzzy, and every year Fuzzy, for February Album Writing Month, takes one of my songs and does arcane, darkly mysterious things to it. And Fuzzy's picked that track, and he pinged me this evening. He said, "Can I do my thing with that?" I said, "Absolutely you can." So I've rendered out all the individual stems, well, not the stems, because the stem is like a submix, but I've rendered out the individual tracks, zipped them all up, and sent them winging their way to Fuzzy's lair, where he will be applying the Fuzzy sonic treatment to that track, and who knows what it will turn out like, because what he did with the track last year floored me completely. I sat there listening to it going, is that really me? Splendidly warped stuff. So really looking forwards to that. Incidentally, if you're around on Saturday night, because it's World Radio Day, and World Radio Day is the day before Valentine's Day, and Wobby Wobbit and various friends, including me, will be getting together on Facebook on Saturday evening, and I am just calling up the event page on Facebook so that I can tell you what it is and where to go. And he smoothly slid into presenter mode to tell you. There we go. It's Wobby's Online Cabaret World Radio Day Special, 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 8 p.m. Coordinated Universal Time, 9 p.m. Central European Time. So that's 4 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Pacific. If you're in the States, if you want to join us, because look, we have a special guest. We have Fuzzy joining us on Wobby's Radio Day Special. And if all goes according to plan, there may even be a performance by me and Wobby of one of the songs that we have put together in our time on February Album Writing Month over the last decade or so. It's a bit of a challenge when I'm here in Bristol and Wobby's in London, because latency tends to bugger things up. But we've picked a piece of music where, frankly, latency shouldn't be an issue. I will just leave it at that. So that's Facebook on Saturday, the 13th of February. This day after tomorrow, in fact. So do swing on by on Facebook if you have the opportunity. So that's what we're going to be doing. So yeah, synth, quick overview. Again, there's an awful lot. So Atitlan basically led the way with Arturia's V Collection 8, saying, "Oh, it's really good." And he was having so much fun with it, particularly the emulator, that it was like, oh. And I've had the V Collection since version 6. So it was like, oh, okay, yeah, I think I can afford I pushed the button, picked up Arturia V Collection 8, and strangely enough, this is the first track since I picked it up last month where I've used this little chap, the emulator. And I actually knew somebody who had a real one of these, and good Lord, it was an intimidating beast. Basically, it just ran off a couple of 5.25 inch floppy disk drives. You know, the bendy ones, not the old 3.5 plastic sleeve things that were more or less the ones you could accidentally fold in half. Well, that's what that ran, and noisy disk drives as well, but it made brilliant sounds. And the sort of sounds that it makes are like this one's called A Frozen Frame. So that patch, it was like, as soon as I heard that, it was like, okay, that's the track. That's the entire track. I'm happy now. But there's also another emulator patch on it, which is called Multi-Timbrality. And that one sounds like this. So there's bass at one end and like a piano at the other. Big old Dave dude says, "Oh, you mean back when we had physical save buttons?" Yeah, and the story of the kids who found one of their dad's 3.5 inch floppy disks and went, "Why have you 3D printed the save icon?" Kids today, eh? So yeah, there's all sorts up the top end, isn't there? Now, I don't know if the emulator wasn't the first keyboard where you could assign regions of the keyboard to use different samples. May actually been. Atitlan says, there's quite a few presets that I recognised on the EMU. I was disappointed that it doesn't have the Mexican radio preset, unless I'm getting that confused with the PPG Wave, which I may well be. But the sequence in Taffy's Bar in Blade Runner, when I saw that at the pictures, it was like, well, that's just a preset on a synthesizer, and they weren't even playing different notes. It was literally the soundtrack for Blade Runner for that piece of music in Taffy's Bar is literally a dude holding down a note on a keyboard. I wonder how much they got paid for that. Mexican radio, as in Celtic Frost. No, Mexican radio was... Oh, crikey. I've forgotten the guy's name. It's completely gone. Where on the Mexican radio was a brilliant single in the Stannard Ridgway. Stannard Ridgway. And what the hell was the name of his track? Of his band? But they had a single called Mexican Radio with an absolutely splendid video. Back in the days when music television was actually about putting music on television. Wall of Voodoo. Thank you, big old Dave dude. Indeed. Absolutely stonking band. And let's face it, I mean, if you've got a name as cool as Stannard Ridgway, you're gonna be a rock star, aren't you? Come on. But yeah, so I have a feeling that the Mexican radio preset was probably PPG Wave. So Celtic Frost covered it. Huh, didn't know that, says Array of Emotions. Big old Dave Dew says, I know that song and band, haha. And Celtic Frost too. Yeah, well, I have actually seen Celtic Frost live because, yeah, I listen to all sorts of genres. As we heard with Pick Your Influences, I'm all about listening to as much as possible, because it all sinks in and it all comes back out in some form or other. So yeah, Emulator 2, Cobalt. I have also, seeing as I've twice downloaded a 1.15 gigabyte update to it this month, been finally getting my head around Absynth, which is Native Instruments' big sampling wavetable-y bonkers synthesizer. And the most recent update included an Our House expansion pack, which gave you another, or was it? No, that was the Massive X expansion pack. The Absynth expansion pack is called something like Interstellar, and there's like 100 something odd new presets in Absynth to play with, and it does sound rather splendid. I do like Absynth, although it's, let's say it's characterful, shall we? It's not always easy to find an Absynth plugin or a setting or a timbre that's going to play well with other synths. But I mean, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 9 synth layers in this, and the Absynth is doing this. So it's the bass line. Big old Dave Dude says, I've owned Absynth for like 5+ years and never once opened it, dude. Man, I feel I get that so much. And this studio has not looked like this for very long, because back in October I was under the bed, and after, like I say, I'm semi-retired, so I'm now drawing a pension, and with the nice lump sum that came with the pension, it's like, you know what, I'm gonna finally turn this room into a proper bloody studio and enjoy myself for a while. And that's what I've been doing. But I bought controller keyboard, so this is the, hang on, I'll show you the rather splendid Complete Control S88 Mark II, and every time I come to look at a synth, I've just got so many bloody synths. I mean, you saw my download folder, right? So a lot of them are free, but I've also got a few that I've picked up over the years. There are some very, very good free synthesizers out there. So we've covered Cobalt. There are 2 cheese-themed synthesizers that you can download for free. So there is the UHE Cheese Machine, which is rather splendid. There is also, I've also got one called Cheese Machine is not UHE, so the UHE one is called Triple Cheese, but Cheese Machine you can track down, that's free as well. So I've got loads of stuff, and when I bought the Complete, I bought Complete 13 because I was jonesing after actually having Contact, because I'd got Contact Player and I downloaded a lot of free instruments from pianobook.co.uk, and they needed the full version of Contact Player to play. So, all right. So, studio refit done. I've ended up with this massive array of stuff, and like you say, some of it you get to the point where you realize you've had it for 5 years and you haven't touched it yet, because there's just so much stuff out there. I thought, right, I'm going to do something about this. So what I do every month is that I pick 1 or 2 of the instruments that I've acquired over the last 3 or 4 years, and it's like, right, I am going to make an album's worth of material just focusing on these instruments. So in November, December, I can't remember now. Yeah. In November, it was a bunch of orchestral tools like Abbey Road 1 and Spitfire's BBC Symphony Orchestra package. In December, that was October. November, it was 2 instruments in the Contact Play series. First one's called Hybrid Keys, and the second one is called Ethereal Earth. And those are available in the Complete Start package, which is free. So they will work in Contact Player. So you can go to the Native Instruments site and you can download them pretty much for nothing. And in December, I then picked the grand pianos that I've got in Complete and in the Arturia V collection, and did an album that basically featured grand pianos. No, that was January, wasn't it? I'm losing track of things, and I haven't had enough coffee, obviously, this evening. So I pick an instrument or 2 instruments or half a dozen instruments and figure out how they work. And that deep dive, I'm finding that by limiting my choices, it makes it a lot easier to make creative decisions, because I'm not dithering about, well, do I use that synthesizer or that synthesizer or that synthesizer, possibly that synthesizer, because it's like, well, you've got that, so use that. And in deep diving into something and restricting my choices, I have to be much more on my game when it comes to compositional choices or composing, songwriting, melody, the rest of it. And I go on about February album writing month and its big sister 50/90. So February album writing month. In the month of February, you have to write 14 songs in 28 days. In 50/90, which starts on the 4th of July, you have 90 days up until the 1st of October, and you have to write 50 songs. So the work rate is actually harder in 50/90, but it seems easier because you can kind of take a week off and you've still got plenty of time to catch up. And if you're an obsessive like me, we're 11 days into form and I've already got 9 songs up on the site, and I've got another 3 in the works as well as that. But I found that just since I put the studio together, and I've pretty much been spending all day in here, I've leveled up, and then I leveled up again, and it's really weird. And listening to stuff I did back at the beginning of 50/90, I think it was probably about May last year that I got the Spitfire Audio free BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover package, which is extraordinary. And when I did form this time last year, it's like if somebody had said, yeah, you'll be writing for entire orchestral arrangements by the middle of summer, I'd have just thought they were mad. But you go to the Spitfire Audio site, find the BBC Symphony Orchestra package page, and it will say that the Discover package is $49, €49 or 49 quid, or free. And you click on the or free, and it just asks you a few questions about, well, do you record music then? Do you use a DAW? And if you answer the questions, give them an email address, and then install the Spitfire Audio app, 2 weeks later, you'll find that the app says you have a license for the BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover package. You download it, it installs it, and bang, it's in your DAW, and suddenly you're writing orchestral arrangements and sonatas and string quartets. And I am going to be writing a string quartet for February album writing month this month. It'll probably be the end of the month rather than the beginning. But so Big Up Dave Do says, but for real, you've just got to find things you like and then be looking out for sales on them with all the plugin sites that sell discount plugins. Yeah, absolutely. I've got Break Tweaker, the Isotope Mad drum box, which basically turns you into Matmos. And I picked that up for £8.95 on Plugin Boutique. And same with Isotope's Iris 2, which Atitlan converted me to months ago, which I think is just glorious. And I think that one cost me $9.99 from some website. You've got to, I mean, it's like Waves plugins, right? You never, ever, ever buy Waves plugins at full price, because they'll have a sale with 40% off. And if you miss that sale, then wait 5 minutes and there'll be another one along. And I think for Thanksgiving and Christmas, they were not only doing like 40% off offers, they were doing 60% off offers. And then if you spent $90, you got 2 more free plugins to choose from their site. And I've ended up with rather a lot of Waves plugins these days, and I love them. I love them. So, yeah, big old Dave does always save money for Black Friday and Cyber Week sales. Absolutely. And so Isotope keep on emailing me saying, upgrade for your music production suite. But the only thing that I do not have the current version of, I think, in the music production suite is RX, whatever it is, the audio editing software package that they've got. But the rest of the stuff is, yeah, and again, that sort of stuff helps me to get sounds from literally what is my back bedroom. And as I said on my form profile at the beginning of the month, basically I'm in here making the sort of music that teenage me would have gone, oh, that's cool. Because I'm stuck in the 70s and 80s, and come on, you've listened to my music. You can hear my influences. I wear my influences on the sleeve, and they're all very, very much mainly from the 70s and 80s, but I'm using 21st century technology to put a fresh spin on them, and I hope sounding like me. Ryako Music says, are there people who buy plugins at full price? And big old Dave Dude says, probably people who keep their email inbox clear. Mine is always full of things I've signed up for to get plugin details right. Oh, God, absolutely. If you've not signed up for the Pure Magnetic mailing list, they do some bonkers plugins. And I love the way that they sell them. Because basically one of their dev team will make an album and write a plugin for that album. And then they put the album on Bandcamp and you buy the album and you get the plugin that helped make it for free. Isn't that cool? I love the Pure Magnetic people. So I really like their stuff. So I get an email from them quite regularly. So yes. So we back to I was actually talking about the synths, wasn't I? So yeah, Absynth. Lots of Absynth on this. The other Absynth pack that I got is called Beautiful Sky. Doesn't sound skyish to me, but apparently that's what it is. So again, reinforcing the bass. Plenty of cobalt on here, warm pads, and there has to be at least one track in every form or 5090 where I get my Vangelis on. And there is a pad in the Arturia V Collections emulation of the Yamaha CS80 called Brassy Pad, and I've got it soloed. So, I mean, who's this, eh? Ryako Music says, I love that sound. Me too. I think, and as soon as I discovered that, you know, the CS80 could do that, I was just off. And mainly as well because it also responds to aftertouch. So the MIDI controller I've got is all bells and whistles. It's a full piano weighted keyboard. It's velocity sensitive. The attack curve, I've forgotten the name of it now. The response curve on the keyboard is gorgeous and beautifully balanced. But the aftertouch, when you really dig into a note on the CS80, it's just glorious. Isn't that glorious? The Arturia V collection is worth it just for that. But you get a Fairlight, you get a Mellotron, you get the Synclavier, you get the Casio CZ101, you get a Yamaha DX7. If you, we're back to free plugins again. If you want a Yamaha DX7 but you don't want to pay money for it, you just want a plugin, then go over to GitHub and look for Dexed, DEXED. And that is such a good emulation of the Yamaha DX7. It will read the DX7's ROM files, which you can find lying around on the internet from place to place. So instantly you can do the Live Aid bells because that's the DX7's tubular bells patch. So I've got Dexed, I've got the Arturia DX7. I tend to use Dexed more than I use the Arturia version, which is weird. And then one of the free plugins that I picked up when I bought 50 quid's worth of plugins from Waves is this mad thing. It was like, well, that looks ridiculous. I'm going to have that because I've no idea what it does. And it turned out to be a sort of scene-based sequencier type synthesizer. So basically it steps through different presets while you're playing it, a bit like Adrian Bellew did with some of the tracks on the King Crimson album Beat, where he was basically just holding the patch change button down on his Roland GR whatever it was, not the 300, the one that came afterwards, the 700, GR700. He would just hold the patch change button down and scroll through pages while he was playing a solo. Absolutely bonkers, but it sounded brilliant. And, you know, I mean, come on, those of you who remember the Daleks handbag, and if you don't remember the Daleks handbag, Google Daleks handbag and you will find the Roland GR707 guitar controller, which kind of had a reinforcing strut to keep the neck from flapping about. Mad. Absolutely mad. The Roland GR55, which I have just to the left of my left foot, is a lot more sensible than the GR700 was, I have to say. Yeah, Flow Motion by Waves. It's just okay. I'm going to use that. I'm not sure how, but this is what it sounds like. And Ableton's AutoPad AutoPan is definitely doing its thing here. That I have a favourite setting for AutoPan, which is around the head because it's all sort of psychoacousticy stuff. Yeah, but yeah, check out Flow Motion. Some of the other patches. I mean, let's step back through a few of the sillier ones. Does all sorts of nice rhythmic stuff. some very nice pads. So this one's called Finding Eno. I love how the flow motion stuff evolves, and it will always surprise you by doing something else. It's like, oh, I didn't know it was going to do that. Big old Dave Dude says it's like those broadcasty impulse responses that are just lying around on the internet and will save you 4K. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm all about the impulse responses. I have an impulse response that I kind of made myself out of a recording made by a professor of acoustics at Manchester University, Professor Cox, not Brian Cox. And this guy has a book out in which he relates visiting the oil storage tanks in Rossshire, in Inchindown. And these were military oil storage tanks that were used to store diesel oil. And they were decommissioned in the 80s after the Cold War finally sort of collapsed. And they drained them out. But the tanks were made of concrete, and the concrete, through having had diesel oil submerged throughout for the best part of 4 or 5 decades, basically just became this horribly slimy, impregnated wall of concrete, right? And concrete's pretty reflective at the best of times, but it turns out that there are a bunch of very strange people who like exploring subterranean spaces. There are websites dedicated to subterranean spaces, right? And they discovered that the empty oil tanks at Inchindown had a rather peculiar acoustic quality. And that acoustic quality was that it basically had the loudest, longest, most insane reverberation time of any physical space on the planet that exists, right? It is insanely long. So in the Guinness Book of Records, the record for the world's most reverberant space was held by the Hamilton Mausoleum. In other words, the burial place of the Hamilton family, which is also in Rossshire, strangely enough. Coincidences abound, eh? And that had a reverberation time of, I think it's around about 25 seconds. So it sounds pretty good. And the convolution reverb that you get in Max, right, has in its real places section the Hamilton Mausoleum. So if I drop a synth, we'll just use a standard piano. I'm doing this on the fly. Look at this. This is bleeding edge Twitch live streaming, ain't it just? So I'm going to demonstrate. Let's demonstrate actually with the free Cheese Machine Together audio synth, and you'll notice that. Oh no, it's the Yuhe one that has patches that are named after types of cheese. So here's clicky lead. All right, so I've dropped the Hamilton Mausoleum into my reverb send. So if I now whack up the A send on Ableton, this is the what the Guinness Book of Records said was the most reverberant space. And so Riaka Music says, what are you using for the reverb? And it's the stock Max for Live Convolution Reverb Pro that comes with the suite. There is at least a version in Live 9. Pretty sure you've got it in Live 9. If you've got the suite, then you should have Convolution Reverb Convolution Reverb Pro. But it's a Max for Live audio effect, so you won't see it in Ableton's own audio effects list. And this is what it sounds like. So that's a Convolution Reverb Pro. Basically, it works. You drop an impulse response, which is a recording of a very, very sharp impulse noise, hence impulse. And people go around reverberant spaces with balloons or starting pistols, although the starting pistols do tend to get people into trouble, so the balloons are probably a bit safer. And somebody sits there with a handheld recorder, somebody else pops the balloon, and the decay of the balloon's pop can then be reverse engineered back onto your synthesizer sounds by a convolution reverb. So it basically that's it. I guess it's more deconvolution than convolution, but it imposes the same response that made that curve of the decay of the popped balloon. It makes whatever noise you throw into it from your DAW to do the same thing. And it sounds great. Still going. So that's the Hamilton Mausoleum, right? So I went round the internet. The French Doggy says, I've got to go to sleep now. I'm too sleepy. Have a good night, everyone. And to you, sir, have a very, very good one. We'll catch you next time. So, yeah, I thought if this inching down oil tanks thing is as freaky as everybody's saying it is, then come on, somebody has got to have put an impulse response for the inching down oil tanks up on the web, surely. And lo and behold, I found it, Professor Ross himself had done it with a starting pistol, and it's on YouTube. So I turned it into a WAV file. And then I dropped it into Convolution Reverb Pro. Wills Robin says, I think I'm going to go for now too. It was fun though. All right then, mate. Have a good one. So now we've got the inching down oil tanks on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a slightly shoutier resi lead, and yeah, big old Dave Duke can hear it already. Yeah, it is insane, right? Okay, not bad, you're saying. Not bad, you're saying. But wait until I drop a guitar on it. don't really get the full benefit, I think, because it's doing as little processing as it can in real time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to record a bit of guitar, and then we'll play it back with the full reverb on it and listen to the difference. That'll do. Now let's play it back. Big old Dave Dude says that can be used in such a cool way. It's still going. The reverberation time of those oil tanks is over a minute. So what I did when I first came upon this particular impulse response and started playing with it was that in 5090, a few years ago, I thought I'll use the 9-string, because the thing with impulse responses, the thing with rooms, is that they tend to have a resonant frequency. And if you've ever been in a band and the PA suddenly just goes nuts, it's usually because somebody's played a note that is just lifting the resonant room frequency. And some mates were playing a gig in the local pub a few years ago, and the noise they were getting out of the PA, not intentionally, was horrendous, because they were hitting the resonant frequency of the room, because the standing waves, the directions that the sounds were traveling in, were just building up and forming a standing wave in the room. And they were scratching their heads and they were fiddling with the PA, trying to do all sorts to try and fix the stuff. And I said, no, guys, look, you don't need to do that. I just walked up to one of the PA stacks and just turned it by about 3 degrees, and the noise collapsed. And they all went, that's magic. And I was going, no, it's physics. So about 3 years ago, I sat down in my studio in here before it looked like this and thought, right, I'm going to see what the resonant frequencies of that inching down response are. And it turned out that my Ibanez RG9 9-string had exactly the right notes to hit the impulse response right for the inching down oil tanks. And this is what I then did. So it's still going. Yeah, it's not exactly grabbing your attention in the tail ends of that track, but that track goes on for another 30 seconds. Reco Music says, I have to do Slothcore with this. I think that's got to be done, hasn't it? I will be using the 9-string. My sliding stretch track that I talked about at the beginning of the show, that's in an Ableton set. I'm going to call it No Rush because, why not? I'm going to put some piano on it, but I think I will also be using the impulse response from Engine Down. Mel, what I will do is you've got Convolution Reverb Pro, or you should have in Ableton. You won't have the impulse response, so I'll ping you about that separately. Big old Dave dude, if you want a copy of the WAV file as well, I can get that to you as well. I'll put it on Dropbox or something like that. But I'm sure there won't be copyright issues for somebody going bang in a big oil tank. But so Reco Music says, oh boy, yay. Yeah, it's got to be done. It's got to be done. And I totally want to hear what you guys do with that convolution reverb and that impulse response, because it's insane. So as it said in the chat, as I showed on that website that I found, it was Trevor Ross who fired a starting pistol inside the oil tank, and they mapped the frequency response, and the reverberation times are different for different frequencies, but the one that I found with the Ibanez 9-string, it's 125 hertz. had a reverberation time of 112 seconds, and that equates to B2. So just below the C, below middle C, because that's C3, isn't it? And yeah, so it's, have I got, no, I haven't got anything connected to the keyboard. But yeah, it really, really, really takes off at those low frequencies. So get something in the octave below middle C, and prepare to be amazed, because it's great fun. I had so much fun with that impulse response doing that. And there are websites that you can go to on the web and download impulse responses and then drop them into your convolution reverb. However, a word of caution, that it depends on which convolution reverb you're using, because for some mad reason the convolution reverb that you get from waves cuts off impulse responses after, I think it's 30 seconds. So even the Hamilton Mausoleum, you don't get a full representation of what the Hamilton Mausoleum sounds like, because basically the waves reverb, the convolution reverb goes, no, that's just silly, I'm not playing that. Whereas the Max for Live one goes, yeah, throw it at me, I'm game for that. So yet another selling point for Live. And by the way, Live 11 drops on February the 23rd. That's Tuesday week. Can't wait. So, yes, that's kind of it for this evening. 2-hour show. There I was coming into this, though. I've only got 2 pieces of music. I'll probably just do an hour and then bugger off to bed. And yeah, just went on and on and on and on and on, very much like the reverberation tail in the Inch and Down oil tanks in Ross-shire. But thank you very much for swinging by, hanging out. Big old Dave dude, thank you for following me. That's very kind of you. It all helps push up the algorithms. And Ryako Music says, it's all good. It really is. If you're doing form this month, then go out, be creative, have fun, play with convolution reverbs, do a slothcore track. If you do a slothcore track, ping me. I want to hear it. I will make it a point of listening to every slothcore track that is uploaded to February album writing month this month. You've seen I've made fairly good inroads so far. I'm going to carry on with it because I am loving it. I will be working on my slothcore track tomorrow, so it should probably be up and running by tea time. And you can listen to it while I head over to Facebook and watch Fish on Friday with the progressive rock singer Mr. Derek Dick, also known as Fish, who broadcasts from his sofa every Friday at 6 p.m. on Facebook, and he's been doing it longer than I've been doing these live streams on Thursday night, and he's a total hero and great, and his latest album, Weltschmerz, is a masterpiece, so do check that one out if you haven't done already. Other than that, if you're going outside, stay warm, stay safe, stay sane, stay well, stay Wayne, wear a damn mask. If you're outside, there are some nasty new variants coming around, and wearing a mask helps stop them spreading further than they already are. So please take care of yourselves. Have a great rest of the week. I will be back here. Hopefully I will have remembered to actually shoot new video for the opening credits. Hopefully I will actually be able to hear the opening credits in OBS, which I couldn't do at the moment. Big old Dave Dude says mask up, and I couldn't agree more. So I'll be back on Sunday night at 2100 GMT, 2100 UTC, 2200 Central European time. Other time zones are available. But until then, have a lovely night, you lovely, lovely people, and I will see you on Sunday.